Hi, everybody. How y'all doing tonight? I am excited to be here as I always am, and I just want to thank you for joining me. I do have to give you some announcements. I am filming in a new location, and it's one that you've seen before if you saw my office redo and reclean or just update and declutter. I got some feedback from my hubby, my lovely life partner, and he said, "Babe, you're too close to the the camera, like you're too close." So he watched the video and I guess he was right up here. So I am one that promotes constructive feedback, and I was just like, okay, I will try different backgrounds, try different settings, and we'll see what actually works. I am very thankful and grateful to have different types of environments and different real estate. So you may see me anywhere, everywhere throughout this abode. Don't be surprised. We're gonna make sure that the audio is good, which is why I'm wearing this, and that the lighting is great, good, great, and that I am not. I won't get close, so that I'm not all in your face. So tonight I am wearing one of my favorite shirts. I've got two of these NSBE shirts. NSBE stands for National Society of Black Engineers, and I've got one in white with red lettering, and then one with red shirt and white lettering. So I said I'm gonna wear this one because it's likely that it won't be smudged and everything. So I'm a happy, a proud engineer, chemical engineer, as I've stated, I think in my very first video. And before you stop and say, wait a minute, I'm not an engineer, I'm not technical, I don't know what this is about, the title is going to tell you what it's about. And you can say, this is not a technical talk. I was asked by my sister, my younger sister, and I've been asked repeatedly by other women that I have met in different fields and men, what was graduate school like and what did it teach you? So I want to unpack that question in three answers. It taught me to be resilient. It taught me that I am not alone. And it taught me that in certain spaces, I need to be able to relate to a lot of people, a lot of different people who have not had the privilege and the blessing to get to know me in the skin that I'm in. I'm going to unpack that, and I'm going to try to do that without, making this a long video. So, just to give you some backstory, I decided to pursue engineering even though I was a science major in undergrad. My journey to that institution of Clarkston University, where I received my master's degree, started with 13 rejection letters. Even though I graduated with honors, I was unable to secure pretty much an acceptance letter to grad school. When I say 13, it's not an exaggeration. I'm just not saying this so you'll be interested. 13. And so I was getting very discouraged. I had friends that had been accepted with higher GPAs and some, same GPA as mine, but they were pursuing masters in science or PhDs in science, so their direction or their path was pretty straight on. Mine was different, and I received feedback from professors at my institution. I don't know why you're doing that. I don't think you're going to be able to deal with the rigor of an engineering degree. So my journey was met with a lot of opposition. And that opposition was validated with rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection, or rejection that said, hey, if you apply to the chemistry department, we may have space for you, but we don't think that you are qualified to be in the engineering department. Short story, well, long story short, I received an envelope, and back then they didn't come, through our computers. We received actual letters, which you do now, but pretty much everything came in the letter. And if your letter wasn't thick, the assumption was it was a rejection letter because a thick envelope meant that there was additional paperwork, there was more information, all the things. And I got a letter that was thrown immediately in the trash because it was thin. So I assumed it was another rejection letter. that looked like the other 13 that I received. My friend, I can't remember who exactly, but she took it out of the trash can, put it on my bed, and she said, "Open this." And I was just like, "Why?" It's there's a whole pile in this trash can of rejections. This is just going to be another one. And she opened it and she said, "I think you should see that." She left the room. She just left it there, and I almost threw it away later. And it was an acceptance to Clarkson University in Potsdam, New York, for a 2-year program for chemistry bachelor students who are pursuing an advanced degree in chemical engineering. It was literally a program made for somebody like me. So I said yes. And that was the beginning of me launching into the unknown. So so that you can get the full Monty of this, I thought that this was located in New York City. I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. I had traveled. Actually, I'd been out of the country, but I neglected to look at a map. My senior year, I was enjoying my senior year and just excited to finally be free. So I was just like accepted, told the parents, accepted at the university and say, "Hey, folks, this is where I'm going." Parents were happy. They were like, "Okay, we'll go through the details, yada, yada, blah, blah." Didn't realize that this institution was nowhere near Brooklyn and it was at the very top of New York State near the Adirondacks. And so that was my first journey of one, recognizing that my acceptance meant a new journey that I wasn't even informed about, and two, having to see the surprise of the long journey, that 13-hour drive that my father, who was mapping out the trek, came to realize, who was from New York originally, that this is not where you said it was. And so it was an interesting beginning. So we get there, met my advisor, Dr. Nsima Obot. So if you are out there, my Niger advisor, who was very stern, very hard on me, and made it very clear what he expected of me, took my parents and my family and I out to dinner in upstate New York, met us, and they left me in his very capable hands. And so culturally, it was completely unlike I had ever seen. It is ironic that it is snowy and icy today. By the way, I hope everyone is safe, because in that environment, it snowed on Mother's Day, snow drifts up to here. I literally missed my very first exams because I saw the snow and I was just like, "There's no way I'm going out in this," not realizing where I was. And I received a phone call that said, "School's open. Where are you? You've missed your exams. I'm going to ask them to give you a makeup because you're not from here, but around here we're built for this." So get your snowshoes, get what you need to get, but you need to arrive here to take this exam. So culturally, just completely in a different environment. And what that allowed me to do was completely change who I was at that moment. I was changing my perspective on people. There were not a lot of students that were in grad school that looked like me, so that was an adjustment. I also was not doing well in some courses because I needed a fundamental engineering courses that I didn't take. And so I was a graduate student taking classes with undergrad students and also TAing for undergrad students. If you're in college, you kind of understand what that's about. Basically, the adjustment period, folks, was ginormous and it took a toll. The more I realized that I needed help, the less I wanted to ask, because I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to let my advisor down. And because I was the, I would have been not, let me say it this way. I had the added pressure of being informed that if, now I know when, but if I were to obtain this master's degree in chemical engineering, I would be the first African American female to do so. And so, sure, yes, sign me up. I'm here. I'm willing to do all the things, do the research. It was tough. And that was my first entry into what people are now talking about, imposter syndrome. It wasn't imposter syndrome. I was doing well in some classes. I was acculturating, finding my stride, finding my people. I had folks that were excelling, that were saying, "Hey, Karen, come on in. I will help you." We had study buddies. I had people in the program who were like me. We were, trying to bust curves. We were trying to do the thing. We were trying to go there and acclimate and just really succeed. And it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do because I carried the weight of being the first on my shoulder. And in addition to that, because I came from an HBCU and the institution at the time was trying to recruit more HBCU students into their graduate programs, I became an ambassador. So I was the person saying, "Sure, you can come and spend a year and 2 years here. See, I can do it. No, there's no place to really get your hair done. Yes, you need a car. The closest mall is in Canada, but sure, come on. I did it. You can do it too." So there was that. And I say that tongue in cheek, but that was the reality at the time. What did all of that teach me as I reflect back on it? I do not like asking for help. There's a quote in one of my favorite rappers, Andy Mineo. He's just like, I'll set myself on fire just to keep warm. It's just like, I just didn't want. It was pride. Let's just cut to the quick. It was pride, and I'm here to tell you, regardless of whether you are going to college, regardless of whether you are college bound, it's not about your pursuit of education. It's just about breathing and living and understanding that if you are struggling, you need to ask for help. You need to find the language, reach out to someone, pray for someone that you can talk to be able to say what you need. And it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me with all of the pressures I was had. It wasn't pride. It was pride, but I also came from an environment where I graduated with honors. Like, my classes were hard, but I got through it. I got through a good grade. So, the first time that you fail or you really fail hard, it's hard. It's hard. It goes without saying. I want you to not be afraid of that. I want you to actually understand that your failing hard is going to allow you to ask yourself so many good questions. It's going to allow yourself to recognize that you have some blind spots, and that though this may be an area that you struggle in, it will also force you to identify the areas that you have strength in. And that is what happened to me. I soon realized that the environment that I was in allowed me to be more amenable and have more grace for people that were trying to understand my culture. I was a hard rock. I was just like, "Why are you looking at me?" I just was not an easy person to get to know, but being in that environment and being vulnerable and not doing well softened me significantly, to where I wasn't just an ambassador to help students acclimate to what it was like to go to school in upstate New York. I actually, once I graduated from Clarkson, I stayed and took a job with Corning Incorporated in Canton, the town next to me, and I became a community leader. I was instrumental in developing programs with Ford, and there was another company up there. There were actually more than one, to actually help bring more people, more diversity into the community, so that you could attract businesses, you can attract people that wanted to live there, raise families there. It was very, very, very. Um, it was a new time for me because I never saw myself doing that. It was also an opportunity for me to accomplish one of the hardest things that I had ever done, and I didn't do it without shrapnel. There were many, many, many nights that I cried, many, many low nights. I'm talking depressed. I'm talking, hiding what I really felt. And through it all, there were people that decided to come alongside me and say, "You don't have to do this by yourself." I also had peers that were grad students that were also struggling in different ways, and then we helped each other. So I found community. It, um, I'm here to tell you that wherever you are right now, obviously life is different, the world is different, but what remains true is that adversity is going to build character that is going to allow you to be closer to your purpose than any success, than any promotion, than any material, tangible accolade that you will receive. I'm living proof of that. And I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that I was an engineer. I could have been a philosophy major. I could have not even been in an institution of higher learning at all. I could have just been a blue collar working a job and it had the same adversity. The difference is in how you think about yourself and how you see yourself. That failure, that hard failure, humbled me. And I was humbled because God, I'm going to give him all the glory. I'm not even going to act like I was so smart and so resilient and so able to bounce back. No, God sent people to pick me up out of the face plant and dust me off and say, hey, you're good. You're going to be all right. Let's get the dust off of you. You're going to be fine. You are not the sum total of this degree. You're not the sum total of other people's expectations. You are unique. You are amazing, even if you don't get this degree, even if you're not letting anybody down. You can do hard things and you can do this too. And that help, that support helped me get over the finish line, open doors for what I believe is a fruitful career, and started me on a path of wanting to help other people. I usually say students, but just people of all ages and any walk of life understand that you too can be successful. It's going to require that you put that pride down and kill it. Like literally take it off like a coat and burn the coat. You're going to fail. Expect it. It's coming. And you're going to fail multiple times in your lifetime. And it's going to be okay because those failures, those unmet expectations, those disappointments are going to allow you again to dig deeper. They're going to allow you to be more resourceful. They're going to change how you think about people. They're going to change how you walk into a room. The next time you walk into a room after a failure, you won't ignore people. You probably notice humans again because that vulnerability, I believe, right sizes us in the spaces of humanity and allows us to see each other for who we are, not our titles, not our paychecks, not where we work, but actually see us in a humanistic way that allows connection, that establishes community, and that is able to build off of maybe the weaknesses, but the weaknesses also highlight the strengths. And we build off of the strengths and it's acknowledging, oh, you don't know how to do that? Well, I know how to do that. Because there's one thing that I can do very well, and that's write. I'm working on speaking better, but I know how to write. And I'm very thankful that my mom, retired English professor who gave my sisters and I the command of language at an early age, instilled that in me. So when it came time to writing papers, I was your girl. I could help you. Differential equations, compressible flow, some of those classes, sit down and explain that to me. Like we didn't do each other's work, but we were able to meet each other at the point of our need and work together for solutions. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we need in this life. We need it in our corporations, we need it in our families, we need it in our communities. So yeah, I want you to fail. I want you to fail, but I also want you to get back up. I want you to put the pride aside. If you're experiencing trouble right now in school, regardless of the age, I want you to get help. Find a counselor, find a tutor. If you need assistance in just having a sounding board, I need you to put something in the comments that says, hey, what about this? I'm happy to answer any questions that I can for you because life is gonna life. And for those of us that have been along the journey and are still evolving and still learning, that is one area of my life that I'm so glad that I can talk about because I talk about it with praise and glory to God for seeing me through some of the toughest times at a very early age, away from family, away from familiarity. And I'm thankful for the opportunity. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight, failing hard and being resilient enough to recognize that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. Please stay safe in the snow and the ice and proceed smartly if you have to get on the road. Okay, folks? Until next time, have a good one.